Hey, what's up? So we've talked about Four Swords in the past, and there's another multiplayer Zelda game that's worth talking about. It's Triforce Heroes on the Nintendo 3DS. Let's talk about it today. The story of this game is pretty simple. It's actually not the classic kidnapped princess trope. I mean, it is, but they take a spin on it. So this time it's the Princess Styla, not Zelda. She used to be a very beautiful princess and everyone was happy, but one day an evil witch appears and she puts a spell on her. So apparently because of this spell, she has to wear a tight black dress that won't come off. It's sort of like Pink Guy's dress, except that it's black, and because of that, she looks unattractive, at least she considers it to be unattractive, and she just spends her time hiding in her room. And because of that, the king is crying, and the people of the town are also sad. And that's the story. Our hero Link just happens to be walking by. He sees a sign that tells the story and says that they need a hero, and he says, fuck it, I'll go help. And that's it, that's the story. The story still follows the kidnapped princess format, and it helps with the pick up and play the way it's supposed to be. But it's kind of odd. It kind of makes fun of itself. I don't know how to feel about it. I appreciate the humor element of this game, but making the story itself a humor element seems a bit odd for a Zelda game. Especially looking at from 2020 perspective, it seems that it's not a very memorable game. But to be honest, the story is not meant to be serious. It was never serious, even in older Four Swords games. And I guess it does serve pick up and play function and turning a cliche story into a humorous story. I guess it works. The most notable difference now is that we only have 3 links as opposed to 4 links, like there used to be in Four Swords. Now, the reason for this is that the developers wanted to take advantage of the 3DS's 3D capabilities. So they developed the new totem formation, which allowed Link to climb, it allows links to climb on one another and create sort of this formation where they're, holding each other and they can take advantage, like jump on a ledge or something like that. Basically, to take advantage of the perspective effect created by the 3DS's 3D feature. To be fair, it's great that they try to take advantage of the 3DS's 3D feature, but on the long run, it works just as well with the 3D turned off, so it's the same story as the 3DS and the 3DS's 3D feature itself. It's kinda neat, but it can be completely ignored without losing anything, to be honest. It's a neat feature, though. Anyway, they cancelled the 4th purple link because they thought that 4 links on the totem would be too much, so the poor purple link got the short end of the stick here, much to a disappointment of many players. And guess what, like they even make fun of it. There's a dead grey doll in the town laying on the ground, and they say that it looks like you, and that Link gently wipes the dust off him. It's not 100% clear that it's a purple Link, but it's pretty clearly a reference at a missing purple Link. So it seems like it's a joke, but I don't know. It's just applying salt to the wound, to be honest. Speaking of jokes, this game is full of it. There's even another Link from A Link to the Past with pink hair standing in front of the castle. Apparently he doesn't fit the description for the hero, so he's stuck there. It sort of makes fun of the game that... it makes fun of the fact that Zelda franchise always has these different links that are not connected to each other in any true way, and there's even multiple of them here in one game, so here you go. It's kind of cool that there's a town now that you can walk around, so even when you're not playing with other players. And the cool thing is that because you collect rupees like in every Zelda game, now you can actually spend them and buy things. Wow, who would have thought? Just like money is supposed to be used. Here you can buy materials that are used to make clothes. Yes, clothes. Clothes and fashion are, besides the 3D totem perspective, the big gimmick of this game. The different outfits will also grant you different powers, and they'll make a considerable difference when playing the game. Some are pretty cool. There's a cool looking samurai armor that gives you a cool spin attack ability. There's cool ninja clothes that give you a dash attack. But to be honest, most of them are just weird looking. Like, there's a cheetah's costume that makes you faster. There's a cactus costume And there's also a lot of girls' clothes as well that you can wear. Like there's a cheerleader out, but there's also a lot of girls' clothes that you can wear. Like there's a cheerleader outfit for some reason, and you can even wear Zelda's own dress, interestingly enough. Kind of odd and fun at the same time. Honestly, it's cool, but sometimes it kinda sucks that the game forces you to wear a stupid dress, because the power that the dress gives you sometimes make most sense for that level. So I don't know. Like at times, especially when you kind of get when the novelty of different dresses wears off, you just kind of feel bad for not being able to have classic Link clothing, because that classic Link clothing doesn't give you any bonuses, so it doesn't make sense to have it. As I said before, there's only 3 links now, so you can't have 4-player mode anymore, so that's a shame, and actually, you can't even have the 2-player mode anymore. It's 3 players only, it's not like in 4 Swords, where you get to choose between 2 to 4 players. However, the upside is that not all... However, one huge upside from 4 Swords is that it is easier to play with multiple people. No longer does anyone need to have a copy of the game, just like it was in 4 Swords, and with 4 Swords Adventures they had a really annoying requirements because you needed to have a Game Boy Advance for every player. Now it's enough just to have a 3DS with a game, and then the download play feature can be used, so other players can also play without a physical copy. They are slightly restricted, so having one copy for everyone still is a better experience, but the game can be beaten with only one physical copy, and it goes without saying, since this is the 3DS, there's also no link cables. Also, one huge novelty is that now there's an online play option, so we can either play with strangers or people that you know, without having to be in the same room. However, there's one downside, is that there's no voice or text chat. Only basic items that are actually quite cute, to be honest, and they are surprisingly functional. So you press like a little icon that says throw an item, and it throws an item, and there's a cheer icon that's just cute and doesn't have much function. They're cute, to be honest, but you're still pretty limited with them. The icons are fun to use, and honestly, the icons are most fun when you're in local play, when you can talk to other players, and you just spam them to make fun of them, and if all the players spam them at the same time, it makes an interesting effect. But I don't consider the multiplayer experience to be much fun here. Especially with random people, it's basically a lottery who you're going to get. In an interview, the developer said that the reason for removing voice chat ability was because the players would give direct instructions to each other, and supposedly that wasn't how they intended the game to be played. However, I'm actually 100% sure that they just wanted to avoid having to moderate or take any responsibility for potential cursing or inappropriate content, which would be unavoidable, especially with strangers. It's unfortunate, but that's just life. There is even a single player mode now, so you can play alone. You get to play as multiple links at once. Basically, one link will be real, then the rest will take a form of lifeless dolls. It's just as boring as it sounds. So you get to switch between those, and you get to move them individually, but you have to move each of them individually. So it's a miserable experience, and you can't move multiple links at once, and they don't teleport just like they did in Anniversary Edition. And considering the fact that like you can't have 2 links, you need to have 3, and the layout of the levels, it's pretty unplayable. It's just a torture. I don't know why they even added it. I guess it's better than nothing if you're like a little kid and you only have one game, and maybe the parents bought you this game but they didn't know that it's multiplayer, and now you're stuck with this. It just sounds miserable. And the choice of lifeless dolls instead of normal links is also another great way that the game is making fun of itself and the player. It's like, haha, you're literally playing alone with dolls. The levels themselves are quite solid, to be honest. Again, it's random maps that you choose from a menu, similar to how it was in 4 Swords. But there's actually quite a lot of them here, so I can't complain. There's standard puzzles, and there's enemies that you have to work together to beat. And there's actually also a versus mode that you can fight different players in, so you also get this. So there is quite a bit of content. Overall, I can't say that it's a bad game. it's not a step up from Four Swords. It's more of its own thing. Honestly, the thing that I miss most is competing for rupees, especially now that you can buy stuff. Especially now that you can actually buy stuff, it would be much more compelling to compete for rupees. Now, you share rupees between all players, and you even share the health bar between all players, which can be quite frustrating if your teammate sucks because you get punished for him sucking. They wanted to make it more competitive, but I guess it was a choice, and I don't know. I miss the mix of competition and working together at the same time that was going on in Four Swords. That's a really cool element that's missing now. The game is full of jokes, it does have a humorous side to it, and to be honest, it does make it good for pick up and play, but I feel that I feel that the entire game has become a joke, so at this point I can't tell if it's a good thing. Especially looking from 2020's perspective, the game has aged pretty badly and it's mostly forgotten, it's not talked about anymore. The online play with strangers is pretty much dead. You need to know people who you want to play with if you want to play with. The soundtrack of the game is also pretty much 100% original, giving the game a very different vibe from the rest of the games. It really doesn't feel all that much like a Zelda game. There's only like slight references to classic Zelda tunes, but everything is original and I can't say that it's very good as well. The very specific music does give it its very specific vibe that's very different from the rest of the Zelda games. I can't say that it's a bad game, but it's just not the Four Swords experience that I wanted it to be. Anyway, it's probably still one of the best 3DS multiplayer games out there, so if you're looking for a multiplayer 3DS experience, this is actually a great choice. And it actually might be easier to play than other Four Swords games, because because it's quite hard to get your hands on them, because you need to copy for each game, and for the GameCube everyone needs its own Game Boy Advance. So this is one upside compared to those Four Swords games. But I feel in general that multiplayer Zelda experience has huge untapped potential. So I really hope that Nintendo does something with it on the Switch. It's just simple classic Four Swords re-release would be enough. That would be a lot. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. There's quite a lot of criticism from me, but that's only because it's a Zelda game. The bar is very high. It's still a decent game. Can't say that it's a bad game at all. Still played it and had fun. Especially local play, multiplayer. It can be a fun experience.